Prapathakas 1 of the Chandogya Upanishad, translated by F. Max Müller. This is a LibriVox recording. All LibriVox recordings are in the public domain. For more information or to volunteer, please visit LibriVox.org. Recording by Jyoti Taravanat. The Chandogya Upanishad, translated by Max Müller. First Prapataka, first Kanda. Let a man meditate on the syllable Om, called the Ud-gita. For the Ud-gita, a portion of the Sama-veda, is sung beginning with Om. The full account, however, of Om is this: the essence of all beings is the earth. The essence of the earth is water. The essence of water, the plants. The essence of plants, man. The essence of man, speech. The essence of speech, the Rig Veda. The essence of the Rig Veda, the Sama-veda. The essence of the Sama-veda, the Ud-gita, which is Om. The Ud-gita, Om, is the best of all essences, the highest, deserving the highest place, the eighth. What then is the Rig? What is Saman? What is the Ud-gita? This is the question. The Rig indeed is speech. Saman is breath. The Ud-gita is the syllable Om. Now speech and breath, or Rig and Saman, form one couple, and that couple is joined together in the syllable Om. When two people come together, they fulfill each other's desire. Thus he who, knowing this, meditates on the syllable Om, the Ud-gita, becomes indeed a fulfiller of desires. That syllable is a syllable of permission. For whenever we permit anything, we say Om, yes. Now permission is gratification. He who, knowing this, meditates on the syllable Om, the Ud-gita, becomes indeed a gratifier of desires. By that syllable does the threefold knowledge, the sacrifice, more particularly the Soma sacrifice, as founded on the three Vedas, proceed. When the Advaryu priest gives an order, he says Om. When the Hotri priest recites, he says Om. When the Udgatri priest sings, he says Om, all for the glory of that syllable. The threefold knowledge, the sacrifice, proceeds by the greatness of that syllable, the vital breaths, and by its essence, the oblations. Now therefore it would seem to follow that both he who knows this, the true meaning of the syllable Om, and he who does not, perform the same sacrifice. But this is not so, for knowledge and ignorance are different. The sacrifice which a man performs with knowledge, faith, and the Upanishad is more powerful. This is the full account of the syllable Om. Second Kanda. When the Devas and Asuras struggled together, both of the race of Prajapati, the Devas took the Ud-gita Om, thinking they would vanquish the Asuras with it. They meditated on the Ud-gita Om as the breath sent in the nose, but the Asuras pierced it, the breath, with evil. Therefore, we smell by the breath in the nose both what is good smelling and what is bad smelling, for the breath was pierced by evil. Then they meditated on the Ud-gita Om as speech, but the Asuras pierced it with evil. Therefore, we speak both truth and falsehood, for speech is pierced by evil. Then they meditated on the Ud-gita Om as the eye, but the Asuras pierced it with evil. Therefore, we see both what is sightly and unsightly, for the eye is pierced by evil. Then they meditated on the Ud-gita as the ear, but the Asuras pierced it with evil. Therefore, we hear both what should be heard and what should not be heard, for the ear is pierced by evil. Then they meditated on the Ud-gita Om as the mind, but the Asuras pierced it with evil. Therefore, we conceive both what should be conceived and what should not be conceived, for the mind is pierced by evil. Then comes this breath of life in the mouth. They meditated on the Ud-gita Om as that breath. When the Asuras came to it, they were scattered, as a ball of earth would be scattered when hitting a solid stone. Thus, as a ball of earth is scattered when hitting on a solid stone, will he be scattered who wishes evil to one who knows this, or who persecutes him, for he is a solid stone. By it, the breath in the mouth, he distinguishes neither what is good nor what is bad smelling, for that breath is free from evil. What we eat and drink with it supports the other vital breaths, i.e., the senses such as smell, etc. When at the time of death he does not find that breath in the mouth through which he eats and drinks and lives, then he departs. He opens the mouth at the time of death as if wishing to eat. Angiras meditated on the Ud-gita Om as that breath, and people hold it to be Angiras, i.e., the essence of the members, Anganam Rasa. Therefore, Brihaspati meditated on Ud-gita Om as that breath, and people hold it to be Brihaspati, for speech is Brihat, and he, that breath, is the Lord Pati of speech. Therefore, Ayasya meditated on the Ud-gita Om as that breath, and people hold it to be Ayasya because it comes Ayati from the mouth Asya. Therefore, Vakadhalbhaya knew it. He was the Udgatri singer of the Nimishaya sacrificers, and by singing he obtained for them their wishes. He who knows this and meditates on the syllable Om, the imperishable Udgita, as the breath of life in the mouth, he obtains all wishes by singing. So much for the Udgita Om as meditated on with reference to the body. Third Kanda. Now follows the meditation on the Ud-gita with reference to the gods. Let a man meditate on the Ud-gita Om as he who sends warmth, the sun in the sky. When the sun rises, it sings as Udgatri for the sake of all creatures. When it rises, it destroys the fear of darkness. He who knows this is able to destroy the fear of darkness, ignorance. This, the breath in the mouth, and that, the sun, are the same. This is hot, and that is hot. This they call Swara, and that they call Pratiswara, reflected sound. Therefore, let a man meditate on the Ud-gita Om as this and that, as breath and as sun. Then let a man meditate on the Ud-gita Om as Vyana indeed. If we breathe up, that is Prana, the up breathing. If we breathe down, that is Apana, the down breathing. The combination of Prana and Apana is Vyana, back breathing or holding in of the breath. This Vyana is speech. Therefore, when we utter speech, we neither breathe up nor down. Speech is Rik, and therefore, when a man utters a Rik verse, he neither breathes up nor down. Rik is Saman, and therefore, when a man utters a Saman verse, he neither breathes up nor down. Saman is Ud-gita, and therefore, when a man sings the Ud-gita Om, he neither breathes up nor down. And other works also require strength, such as the production of fire by rubbing, running a race, stringing a strong bow, are performed without breathing up or down. Therefore, let a man meditate on the Ud-gita Om as Vyana. Let a man meditate on the syllables of the Ud-gita, i.e., the word Ud-gita. Ut is breath, prana. For by means of breath a man rises. Uttishtahati. Gi is speech, for speeches are called girah. Tha is food, for by means of food all subsists. Stihita. Ut is heaven, Gi the sky, Tha the earth. Ut is the man, Gi the air, Tha the fire. Ut is the Sama-veda, Gi the Yajurveda, Tha the Rig Veda. Speech yields the milk, which is the milk of speech itself. To him who thus knowing meditates on those syllables of the name of Ud-gita, he becomes rich in food and able to eat food. Next follows the fulfillment of prayers. Let a man thus meditate on the Upasaranas, i.e., the objects which have to be approached by meditation. Let him, the Udgatri, quickly reflect on the Saman with which he is going to praise. Let him quickly reflect on the Rik in which that Saman occurs, on the Rishi, poet, by whom it was seen or composed, on the Devata, object, which he is going to praise, on the meter in which he is going to praise, on the tune with which he is going to sing for himself, on the quarter of the world which he is going to praise. Lastly, having approached himself, his name, family, etc., by meditation, let him sing the hymn of praise, reflecting on his desire and avoiding all mistakes in pronunciation, etc. Quickly will the desire be then fulfilled to him, for the sake of which he may have offered his hymn of praise. For which he may have offered his hymn of praise. Fourth Kanda. Let a man meditate on the syllable Om, for the Ud-gita is sung beginning with Om, and this is the full account of the syllable Om. The Devas, being afraid of death, entered upon the performance of the sacrifice prescribed in the threefold knowledge, the three Vedas. They covered themselves with the metrical hymns. Because they card themselves with the hymns, therefore the hymns are called Kandas. Then, as a fisherman might observe a fish in the water, Death observed the Devas in the Rik, Yajus, and Saman sacrifices. And the Devas, seeing this, rose from the Rik, Yajus, and Saman sacrifices and entered the Swara, that is, the Om. They meditated on the Om. When a man has mastered the Rig Veda, he says quite loud Om. The same when he has mastered the Saman and the Yajus. This Swara is the imperishable syllable, the immortal, free from fear. Because the Devas entered it, therefore they became immortal and free from fear. He who knowing this loudly pronounces Pranuti, that syllable, enters the same imperishable syllable, the Swara, the immortal, free from fear, and having entered it, becomes immortal as the Devas are immortal. Fifth Kanda. The Ud-gita is the Pranava. The Pranava is the Ud-gita. And as the Ud-gita is the sun, so is the Pranava. For he, the sun, goes sounding Om. Him I sang praises to, therefore art thou my only one. Thus said Kaushitaki to his son, do thou revolve his race, then thou wilt have many sons. So much in reference to the Devas. Now with reference to the body. Let a man meditate on the Ud-gita as the breath in the mouth, for he goes sounding Om. Him I sang praises to, therefore art thou my only son. Thus said Kaushitaki to his son, do thou therefore sing praises to the breath as manifold, if thou wishest to have many sons. He who knows that the Ud-gita is the Pranava, and the Pranava the Ud-gita, rectifies from the seat of the Hotri priest any mistake committed by the Udkari priest in performing the Ud-gita. In performing the Ud-gita. Sixth Kanda. The Rik Veda is this earth. The Saman Veda is fire. This Saman fire rests on that Rik earth. Therefore, the Saman is sung as resting on the Rik. Sa is this earth, Ama is fire, and that makes Sama. The Rik is the sky, the Saman air. This Saman air rests on that Rik sky. Therefore, the Saman is sung as resting on the Rik. Sa is the sky, Ama the air, and that makes Sama. Rik is heaven, Saman the sun. This Saman sun rests on that Rik heaven. Therefore, the Saman is sung as resting on the Rik. Sa is heaven, Ama the sun, and that makes Sama. Rik is the stars, Saman the moon. This Saman moon rests on that Rik stars. Therefore, the Saman is sung as resting on the Rik. Sa is the stars, Ama the moon, and that makes Sama. Rik is the white light of the sun, Saman the blue exceeding darkness in the sun. This Saman, darkness, rests on that Rik, brightness. Therefore, the Saman is sung as resting on the Rik. Sa is the white light of the sun, Ama the blue exceeding darkness, and that makes Sama. Now that golden person who is seen within the sun, with golden beard and golden hair, golden altogether to the very tips of his nails, whose eyes are like blue lotuses, his name is Ut, for he has risen Udita above all evil. He also who knows this rises above all evil. Rik and Saman are his joints, and therefore he is Ud-gita. And therefore he who praises him, the Ut, is called the Udgatri, the out singer. He, the golden person called Ut, is Lord of the worlds beyond that sun, and of all the wishes of the Devas inhabiting those worlds. So much with reference to the Devas. 7th Kanda. Now with reference to the body. Rik is speech, Saman breath. This Saman breath rests on that Rik speech. Therefore, the Saman is sung as resting on the Rik. Sa is speech, Ama is breath, and that makes Sama. Rik is the I, Saman the self. This Saman shadow rests on that Rik I. Therefore, the Saman is sung as resting on the Rik. Sa is the I, Ama the self, and that makes Sama. Rik is the ear, Saman the mind. This Saman mind rests on that Rik ear. Therefore, the Saman is sung as resting on the Rik. Sa is the ear, Ama the mind, and that makes Sama. Rik is the white light of the eye, Saman the blue exceeding darkness. This Saman darkness rests on the Rik brightness. Therefore, the Saman is sung as resting on the Rik. Sa is the white light of the eye, Ama the blue exceeding darkness, and that makes Sama. Now the person who is seen in the eye, he is Rik. He is Saman, Ukta, Yajus, Brahman. The form of the person in the eye is the same as the form of the other person in the sun. The joints of the one, Rik and Saman, are the joints of the other. The name of the one, Ut, is the name of the other. He is Lord of the worlds beneath that, the self in the eye, and of all the wishes of men. Therefore all who sing to the Veena, lyre, sing him, and from him also they obtain wealth. He who, knowing this, sings a Saman, sings to both the Adi Daivata and the Adhyatma self, the person in the sun and the person in the eye, as one and the same person. He obtains through the one, he obtains the worlds beyond that, and the wishes of the Devas. And he obtains through the other, the worlds beneath that, and the wishes of men. Therefore, an Udgatri priest who knows this may say to the sacrificer for whom he officiates, "What wish shall I obtain for you by my songs?" For he who, knowing this, sings a Saman is able to obtain wishes through his song, through his song. 8th Kanda. There were once 3 men well versed in Ud-gita: Silaka Salabatya, Kaikitayana Dhalbaya, and Pravahana Gaivali. They said, "We are well versed in Ud-gita. Let us have a discussion on Ud-gita." They all agreed and sat down. Then Pravahana Gaivali said, "Sirs, do you both speak first, for I wish to hear what 2 Brahmanas have to say." Then Silaka Salavatya said to Kaikithayana Dalbaya, "Let me ask you." "Ask," he replied. "What is the origin of the Saman?" "Tone, Swara," he replied. "What is the origin of tone?" "Breath," he replied. "What is the origin of breath?" "Food," he replied. "What is the origin of food?" "Water," he replied. "What is the origin of water?" "That world, heaven," he replied. "And what is the origin of that world?" He replied, "Let no man carry the Saman beyond the world of Swarga, heaven. We recognize the Saman in the world of Swarga, for the Saman is extolled as Swarga, heaven." Then said Silaka Salavatya to Kaikithanya Dalbaya, "O Dalbaya, thy Saman is not firmly established, and if any one were to say, 'Your head shall fall off if you be wrong,' surely your head would now fall." "Well then, let me know this from you, sir," said Dalbaya. "Know it," replied Silaka Salavatya. "What is the origin of that world, heaven?" "This world," he replied. "And what is the origin of this world?" He replied, "Let no man carry the Saman beyond this world as its rest. We place the Saman in this world as its rest, for the Saman is extolled as rest." Then said Pravahana Gaivali to Silaka Salavatya, "Your Saman, the earth, O Salavatya, has an end. And if any one were to say, 'Your head shall fall off if you be wrong,' surely your head would now fall." "Well then, let me know this from you, sir," said Salavatya. "Know it," replied Gaivali. Ninth Kanda. What is the origin of this world? Ether, he replied. For all these things take their rise from the ether and return into the ether. Ether is older than these. Ether is their rest. He is indeed the Ud-gita, Om Brahman, greater than great, Paravorthyas, he is without end. He who knowing this meditates on the Ud-gita, the greater than great, obtains what is greater than great. He conquers the worlds which are greater than great. Atidhanavan Saunaka, having taught this Ud-gita to Udhara Sandilya, said, "As long as they will know in your family this Ud-gita, their life in this world will be greater than great, and thus also will be their state in the other world. He who thus knows the Ud-gita and meditates on it thus, his life in this world will be greater than great, and also his state in the other world. Yeah, in the other world." 10th Kanda. When the Kurus had been destroyed by hailstones, Ushasti Chakrayana lived as a beggar with his virgin wife at Ibhayagrama. Seeing a chief eating beans, he begged of him. The chief said, "I have no more except those which are put away for me here." Ushasti said, "Give me to eat of them." He gave him the beans and said, "There is something to drink also." Then said Ushasti, "If I drank of it, I should have drunk what was left by another, and is therefore unclean." The chief said, "Were not those beans also left over, and therefore unclean?" "No," he replied, "for I should not have lived if I had not eaten them, but the drinking of water would be mere pleasure." Having eaten himself, Ushasti gave the remaining beans to his wife, but she, having eaten before, took them and put them away. Rising the next morning, Ushasti said to her, "Alas! if we could only get some food, we might gain a little wealth. The king here is going to offer a sacrifice. He should choose me for all the priestly offices." His wife said to him, "Look, here are those beans of yours." Having eaten them, he went to the sacrifice which was being performed. He went and sat down on the orchestra near the Udgatris, who were going to sing their hymns of praise. And he said to the Prastotri, the leader, Prastotri, if you, without knowing the deity which belongs to the Prastava, the hymns, etc., of the Prastotri, are going to sing it, your head will fall off. In the same manner, he addressed the Udgatri. Udgatri, if you, without knowing the deity which belongs to the Ud-gita, the hymns of the Udgatri, are going to sing it, your head will fall off. In the same manner, he addressed the Pratihartri. Pratihartri, if you, without knowing the deity which belongs to the Pratihara, the hymns of the Pratihartri, are going to sing it, your head will fall off. They stopped and sat down in silence. 11th Kanda. Then the sacrificer said to him, I should like to know who you are, sir. He replied, I am Ushasti Chakrayana. He said, I looked for you, sir, for all these sacrificial offices, but not finding you, I chose others. But now, sir, take all the sacrificial offices. Ushasti said, Very well, but let those with my permission perform the hymns of praise. Only as much wealth as you give to them, so much give to me also. The sacrificer assented. Then the Prastotri approached him, saying, Sir, you said to me, Prastotri, if you, without knowing the deity which belongs to the Prastava, are going to sing it, your head will fall off. Which then is that deity? He said, Breath, Prana. For all these beings merge into breath alone, and from breath they arise. This is the deity belonging to the Prastava. If without knowing that deity you had sung forth your hymns, your head would have fallen off, after you had been warned by me. Then the Udgatri approached him, saying, Sir, you said to me, Udgatri, if you, without knowing the deity which belongs to the Ud-gita, are going to sing it, your head will fall off. Which then is that deity? Then the Pratihartri approached him, saying, Sir, you said to me, Pratihartri, if you, without knowing the deity belonging to the Pratihara, are going to sing it, your head will fall off. Which then is that deity? He said, Food, Anna. For all these things live when they partake of food. This is the deity belonging to the Pratihara. If without knowing that deity you had sung your hymns, your head would have fallen off, after you had been warned by me. 12th Kanda. Now follows the Ud-gita of the dogs. Vakadhalbhaya, or as he was also called Glava Maitreya, went out to repeat the Veda in a quiet place. A white dog appeared before him, and other dogs gathering round him said to him, Sir, sing and get us food, we are hungry. The white dog said to them, Come to me tomorrow morning. Vakadhalbhaya, or as he was also called Glava Maitreya, watched. The dogs came on, holding together, each dog keeping the tail of the preceding dog in his mouth, as the priests do when they are going to sing praises with the Vashispa hymn. After they had settled down, they began to say Hin. Om, let us eat. Om, let us drink. Om, may the divine Varuna, Prajapati Savitri bring us food. Lord of food, bring hither food. Bring it. Om. 13th Kanda. The syllable Hav is this world, the earth. The syllable Hai, the air. The syllable Atha, the moon. The syllable Iha, the self. The syllable I is Agni, fire. The syllable U is the sun. The syllable E is the Nihava, or invocation. The syllable Ayuhoi is the Vishve Devas. The syllable Hin is Prajapati Swara, tone, is breath, prana. The syllable Ya is food. The syllable Vag is Virag. The 13th Stoba syllable, namely the indistinct syllable Hun, is the undefinable, the highest Brahman. Speech yields the milk, which is the milk of speech itself, to him who knows this Upanishad, secret doctrine of the Samans, in this wise. He becomes rich in food, and able to eat food, yea, able to eat food. End of Prapathakas 1. Recording by Jyoti Taravanat.